We are not using our back to support us. We are thinking, how many of you have done a plank before? You know what a plank is in exercising? Okay, so you have the forearm stance, the core is tight, right? It's going to be the same thing that we're going to do with our forearm. It's essentially kind of like planking on a client, right? So we are using our forward motion of our body leaning in. So I also will say it's kind of like when you lean on a countertop and you're talking to somebody and you're just kind of hanging out. That's the same thing, hanging out. We're not muscling it like, you know, like pushing really hard down into it, but we're just relaxing and melding into their tissue, using our body weight and gravity to do the work. That's the goal. So we need to root our feet into the ground, and so it is just like we are a tree, and our upper body is going to be moving, right, as an extension from our legs, right? So we're not doing this, right? Forearm work. Exactly, but we are using our whole body. So if you want to stand up and do some swaying, okay? So go ahead and stand up. We're going to sway. We're going to use our legs to create motion. The arms are the branches that follow, right? Whoosh, whoosh. Root yourself into the ground and moving as one as a tree. You are a tree. What kind of tree are you?
I'm a maple tree.
You're a maple tree.
From Vermont.
Yes, I'm a Vermont tree. I am a palm tree. I'm a palm tree. I'm on the ocean.
Oh, I like
Yep.
that.
The branches are not independent of the trunk. Right?
Hurricane.
Okay? We're not. Yeah. Hurricane and the coast. Okay, so the legs are moving, the arms are moving. Ground yourself in that, also that beginner's mind. Okay, so you know how long it took you to kind of get the feel for your regular massage. Again, we're going to have that feeling of beginner. So let yourself relax. Don't get in your head too much. I've had people crying before because they're like, I'm like, no crying in massage. We are just going to relax and become one with our client. You're going to talk to the tissue. Your forearms are going to talk to the tissue. And for me, when I first started learning this, it really kind of freaked me out because you kind of feel like your fingers are your eyeballs, right? Right away, you're like, okay, I'm mastering this finger eyeball thing. And then all of a sudden, I'm supposed to grow an eyeball in my forearm, and you're working, and it kind of is a feeling of like, I'm disconnected. What is this any good? Do people like this? And again, you have to trust yourself and get just relaxing into it. It took me a long time to feel real comfortable with using my forearms because of that. Because I just was like, I know what these are, but this is another translation. Another great thing about forearm is it's a building block to your barefoot sessions. So just like when you're using your side of your foot, that is a translation of a forearm on a foot, using your foot to do the massage. So knowing this first is going to make you a better barefoot therapist, which is also great, because that's another translation of our work. So use your leg muscles. This is a lower body powered movement, okay? We're not simply hanging over our table like this, okay? Because that's all on my back now, okay? But we're bending our legs and supporting ourselves with our forearms on the client. So the weight is through our forearms. It's not me supporting myself with my back, okay? So those are some things to keep in mind. Your table's gonna be higher. Your table's gonna be higher than it would be because you are dependent upon how tall you are, you want it to lean forward so that it hits your forearms, okay? Because if your table's way too low, you're gonna have to be bent all the way over. That's too much. That's too far. I mean, it's fine when you're doing this, when you have your, you know, your straight arms because there's more space, but now you got to bring your table up when we go here because we're losing this much, right? Your arms remain static, so we are not swimming shoulders, okay? Yeah, because that can, when you're putting some pressure down and you're pulling this way, that's a lot of strain on shoulders. So we're using our legs and keeping ourselves steady. So can you see that? As opposed to this. Mm-hmm. It's a cool dance, but not forearm work, okay? Overexertion, if you're like sweating and you're just like, oh, I can't, you're working too hard, okay? You need to sink into the tissue. So think like ragdoll, right into their tissue, relaxing and moving and sinking slowly into tissue to use those forearms, okay? So we have this side, the ulnar border of our bone here, and that's what we really want to be using, because it's just this. If you feel like, I like to do it like this, because you can really feel it on your other arm.
So it's on the inside of the ulnar?
So right here. So it's like, yep, the outside. Okay. The world's smallest violin playing for you. So here, again, rocking, you can rock with it, because I'm just using this side, and this is the radial side, radius. So I'm just on top of the radius, or just turn it over so you get, okay, the back of that arm. Okay, you can slide down it. Can you feel that? Feels pretty good.
Yeah.
You get some nice,
Tight there.
yeah, you can get some nice compression in there. Okay, you can also turn by turning. You can get, you're tweaking the fascia that way. So you don't want to have a ton of oil either, because you don't want to be like, shwee, like, oh, whee. But you can put your, what? Yeah, I know, right?
Our school by accident. Too much oil.
Yes, if you have too much, your client is going to be like, ugh. When they get off the table, they're like, this is greasy. But then the next is you can't really get that drag, and you really want to get that deep tissue bite feel. That's why we're doing this, is because people are like, I want that deep tissue. So you want to really sink into it, grab that tissue, and just kind of slowly stretch. But if it's too oily, you're just gonna right over the top of it, unless
Almost
you're
plant.
and that's
Plant.
loamy. What'd you say?
Almost face plant on the
Yes.
back.
Yes, you can do that. So we also have our elbow too, the olecranon. So we can also use that. It's very sharp. So sometimes you'll find a trigger point, you'll find an adhesion to simply plant your elbow into it. Okay. You can also do like a bicep curl, because now that's sitting on that trigger point, and now you are simply massaging it by doing your arm wrestler movement. Okay. You can also use the radial side. So we're going to show you how to do that underneath the neck, rolling your arm over. This is going to be grabbing the back of the occiput. Okay, so you can also roll and use that as a tool. Okay, so again, very handy here, here, and this side underneath the neck. And that probably, that kind of sums it up. So you also have that more muscle down towards, you have the muscle on the top too, so it's going to feel a lot more bony right here to somebody than right here. It's also going to feel, you know, dependent upon where you're using that and how you turn your arm, whether you use more of the tissue to make it more, like this is going to feel much more soft than this. Okay, because there's just there's a wad of tissue right there, right? So this is going to feel a lot more sharp than when I use this on the inside. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to partner up, grab a table, get your table dressed and plugged in and turned on and such. And I'm going to go through and start demonstrating on the back, because the back I think is the best place to start, because it's this big canvas and we can really do a lot of the techniques on the back that will translate to the other areas of the smaller body parts, the legs, the arms, all of those things. Okay, so go ahead and partner up, grab your tables, go to the bathroom, and we will get started with our demo.